Monsignor John McCullagh, whose parents hail from County Tyrone, has been a chaplain to the NYPD for 15 years. During that time, he's been called out to cop shootings 300 times and has encountered 68 police suicides. He also teaches in the police academy on the moral aspects of policing and generally likes to make his presence felt around the precinct.
Before you leave, the one spot I will go over is 142 Lot Avenue. The only reason that this place is especially fortified.
There are 8 chaplains attached to the NYPD, but in a force which is 85% Catholic, the Catholic chaplain naturally sees more than his share of the action.
Every day they may do this 2 or 3 times within their 8-hour tour of duty. Every day. And there's no end to it. It's like cutting the grass. It just comes back and back and back.
We're taking them by surprise. They may be wanted for a homicide. Like, for example, did anyone see the movie Speed? All right? Well, that's an example of what could happen. No, but seriously, just keep that in mind. All right? All right.
Sorry, did you said she was going to do the ramming?
Yes.
We're just going to go...
With them, not by the area. We'll let them, they're in control of the area.
Well, one of the pressures is pressure of corruption. When a criminal is apprehended, sometimes he offers a policeman money not to arrest him. And this is particularly true now with the increased drug problem we have and a tremendous amount of money. We're not talking about $5 or $100. We're talking about thousands of dollars and hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's a very, very strong temptation for a police officer.
The arresting officer and the recorder are the only ones that do the search under the supervision of the sergeant.
Well, the temptation is absolutely tremendous.
I appreciate your ambition.
I'll give you an example. When I first went to narcotics, I was probably in there about 2 or 3 weeks, and we hit an apartment somewhere in the South Bronx, dumpy apartment, and we found the narcotics, and we're now searching for more narcotics. And I opened the closet, and there was a brown paper bag at the bottom of the closet, and I opened the brown paper bag, and there had to be $50,000 or $60,000 in cash, $5 bills, $10 bills. And I said, oh my God, I don't have to take it all. I could just take a handful, $2,000 or $3,000. Nobody would miss it, and they wouldn't. But you see, you don't do that. Good cops don't do it, especially Irish Catholic cops don't do it. Not with my upbringing.
All right? And again, safety #1, and integrity is right up there, all right? Thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah, unfortunately, as I remind the young policeman, you can't be just a little bit dishonest. It's like a woman being a little bit pregnant. You are or you aren't. You're honest or you're not. Because as my mother used to say, you take pennies and soon the dollars will come easy. And it's that way with anyone, and especially with a police officer. They're honest or they're dishonest. Now, unfortunately, if a police officer is apprehended, he becomes worse than a leper. Because as I also tell people, a police officer, like a priest, is preaching by what we do. By wearing that uniform or by wearing our collar, we're announcing to people that we stand for what's good, right, just, and holy. And people expect us to practice what we preach. And when people find out that a law enforcement officer has become a lawbreaker, their response to him is the same as it is to a clergyman who has betrayed his trust. They want us out of the pulpit, and they want his gun and badge. It's a trust that's given to us, and people are disappointed when we don't practice what we preach.
I mean, I do know people who are arrested for corrupt acts, and yes, I was surprised, because you never figure. You say, my God, I knew that person, or I worked with him. I didn't know that was going on. You also feel stupid. You say, oh my God, how could that be going on? I'd be next to it and not paying attention. I was asleep at the wheel. We have a huge, huge image problem. And part of my job is to try and win back over the folks in New York City. And I think we're on the right track. We have a very big chaplains unit that covers almost all denominations. That's available for our officers to go in, get counseling, talk to a priest, talk to a rabbi, talk to a minister. And we have them of all sexes.
Okay, we'll catch up here. Hey, stay well. Be safe. God bless.
Okay, take care. Good luck to you.
They're playing a very important role. They speak to the officers at roll calls. Probably their biggest impact or importance for me, we have all too often police officers shot, killed, maimed in car accidents. And the chaplain unit come out to the scenes, come to the hospitals, and they're a great comfort to me, personally, but more importantly to the officers' families, as only priests can. You know, we cops are kind of used to it, but priests and rabbis seem to have a knack, have a warmth, have a caring about them. Maybe it's God-given. I think it is God-given. It's spiritual. I think sometimes we lose sight of religion, its importance, and it's only in times of crisis. You know, when things go bad, you say, "Oh my God, Jesus Christ!" Well, you know, then you start to reach out. You probably should do it more in non-crisis situation, but human nature being what it is, they don't. But you see it in crisis situation, particularly involving when cops are shot, maimed, killed, and the families at the hospital. Kind of very moving scenes.
Well, here we go. Well, Frank, let us sit around waiting for something to happen.
Like anything else, some days are worse than others.
Okay. Just started giving cops this patrol again, like we're directing traffic.
It's a new strategy by the police commissioner and the mayor. They like to have like the tourists who come into the city, the first thing that they see is a police officer.
Well, watch your back, guys. You're gonna get killed. You get an awful lot of pickpockets work in this area. So these two officers out here, and the other ones you've seen before, are a big deterrent. You know, and hopefully so they're not. While their primary function is traffic control, keeping the intersections clear for emergency vehicles. As you see, here we come now. There's an ambulance as we speak.
I mean, if you thought about it for a second, if I'm plucking you out, and our cops are really young, they're actually too young. You're 20 years old, and you're 2 years out of high school, you may have even gone into college. And now I pluck you out, sometimes from the suburbs, and I plop you in the middle of New York City. You don't have a clue about the city itself. We train you somewhat, 6 months, give you a gun, and then tell you that, you know, Fridays and Saturday nights you're going to be in a radio car, going on all sorts of radio runs, involving all sorts of violent acts. And there's a possibility that you may get shot and killed. There's a possibility that you may do the right thing, that you may wind up having to shoot and kill somebody else and still have problems. Still have problems with the media, with prosecutors. In other words, you're in a no-win situation. If I tell you all that, and you ever thought about all the situations that you're in, you'd probably go nuts. So what you do is you don't think about it.
So we came over right at this address, 133, that there was a cop shot, which is 13. So, and we just came over to say everyone's over here, nothing going on. They get a lot of these calls. People put them over because they're like, I don't know why. They like to see the cops rush somewhere, and knowing that if you put that over, cops are going to get here quick. And so that was it, and nothing was going on.
The adrenaline's going, but I don't think it's stressful. It's actually almost enjoyable. Later on, a half hour later, an hour later, when it starts to dawn on you what happened, that's when it gets very stressful. The knees now start to buckle, the legs start to shake.
After a period of time, it usually gets the most of them. They get what you call burnout, because there's always the realization that every time you go out, you may not come back.